Hey everybody, it's Dr. Jinnie Cristerna, and I am Facebooking you guys live to talk a little bit about spirit releases. And, is it voodoo? What is it really? So, a lot of you know that I'm a psychotherapist. I'm clinically trained, I'm licensed, and all that other good stuff. And it's really interesting because most people didn't know that I was a reverend. Now you know. So I don't have a church or anything like that, but I am a reverend. And so when I work with folks who are coming in for like clinical depression or something like that, they'll do psychotherapy. And I've done this for about 25 years or so. And lately, I would say in the past, God knows how many years, people have been coming more and more for spiritual work because, psychotherapy, at least clinical psychotherapy, is mind to mind. And so, you're talking about things, you're coming to some type of realization about something in a left brain kind of way. You may have, of course, emotions come up in your cry and, things like that. So, clinical psychotherapy and clinical social work and psychoanalysis, I love it. I think it's just fascinating work, and I continue to offer psychotherapy services to my patients in my office. However, as a reverend and as a clinician, I do my work because, I do it for the highest good of my client, to honor their soul, because I am committed to their healing, not just their knowing. So what has happened over the past several years is that people have been coming to me because they've been in psychotherapy for years and things haven't gotten any better. CBT is great, and then at some point it also plateaus, and there really isn't much to know or to discover anymore because the conscious mind can only go so deep. So when you're trying to make the unconscious conscious, as Freud would say, it's hard because your conscious mind is always there. So when we're doing spiritual psychotherapy, we're bypassing the conscious mind, we're bypassing the defenses, and we're going straight either into the subconscious mind, which is Yandi work, or hypnotherapy work, even heart-centered hypnotherapy, or we're going into the unconscious mind, which is complete Rohan. So depending on what the patient is looking for, they'll do one of those modalities: clinical therapy, clinical psychotherapy, Yandi, hypnotherapy, or Rohan. Now, there is a space where, as a clinician and as a reverend, where I'm trained as a specialty to do what we call spirit releases. Some people call them depossessions, whatever. It's all the same thing. I don't get hung up on names or anything like that. And people specifically request those things from me. So some of you know, not many, that I have just started a small healing sanctuary, spiritual healing sanctuary in New York, in Harlem. And I go there about every other month to do work in the community. And most of what I do is spirit releases and Rohan cleanses, a couple of past life regressions, things like that. So people can have a deep healing and also have an opportunity to gain conscious understanding of who they are, why they do what they do, why they're here, bringing some understanding to their life as to, why some of the things happen in their life that's happened. With that said, it has occurred to me that not everybody is aware of what a spirit release is, what to look for, how it's done, really, the main questions of it all. And basically, a spirit release is no big deal. Believe it or not, it really isn't. The vast majority of us, I want to say everyone on this planet, but I can't speak in absolutes, and I'm sure somebody like Gandhi, for example, or the Dalai Lama, they don't have attachments. But basically what an attachment is an earthbound spirit, someone who has died and either doesn't know it or has not crossed over or doesn't want to cross over because they're afraid they're going to go to hell or something like that. But they haven't crossed over. And they find somebody who has a body, who's a live person like me and you, and they resonate with the vibration of that person, and then they attach. Simple as that. And we have tons of earthbound spirits that are just kind of roaming around. You find a lot of them, of course, in the cemeteries and in the hospitals or whatever. And if your frequency matches theirs, they may just kind of catch a ride. Sometimes they hop off and, catch a ride with someone else, and sometimes they stay around. Most times people don't know it. Most times they're just kind of parasites, and they don't cause too much of a problem in our life. And sometimes they're huge and they cause big problems in our lives. So, these are usually earthbound spirits. And then you also have attachments that are elementals. Elementals are these thoughts that don't necessarily belong to you. These are like the lower vibratory thoughts that kind of float around. But if you resonate at a certain level, it will kind of say, oh, that person thinks the way I think. And so it's a Jungian concept. So for those of you who like Jung, that makes sense to you. So Jung is, out of all of them, which I love, Freud and Klein and Kohut and he's the one that really talks about the collective unconscious. And so if you did want to read some of Jung's work, Robert A. Johnson has several really great books that are easy to read. They're small. I suggest people start with he, she, and we. It explains a lot about relationships, so try that. But oftentimes what you'll hear people say is, I don't feel like myself. This is how you can tell if you might have an attachment. I don't feel like myself, and you do something, you don't know why you did it, and you don't remember doing it. A great one for me that's always fun to watch is when someone just eats and eats and eats and eats, and they don't realize how much they're eating. And then after a while, they go, I'm not even hungry. Because sometimes attachments will kind of jump in and then jump out. So they're really interesting. And again, the vast majority of people have experienced an attachment or have them. And again, we usually don't know that until something major in our life comes up, and say we're trying to raise our vibration, or we're trying to become better people, to give you the pop culture or the pop psychology of it. When you're trying to become a better person, you'll usually feel something pulling at you to go back. It's very tempting to go back to where you were and not to grow. So when I've done attachments in New York or in Chicago, or wherever I've been, it's pretty easy. It's not like it requires, a rocket scientist and a physics person, but it does require an awareness and a respect for the process, because we're not sending them to hell. We're not condemning them. It's actually, when you're doing a spirit release, or when I do a spirit release, it's a very beautiful process. It's a very loving process, and we send them up to God. We talk with them. We get an understanding of who they are, why they're here. And I have stopped counting how many times when I've done a spirit release on someone in a session, either in the middle of Rohan, or if they just came in and said, something's not right with me. This isn't me. And we do a spirit release, and they go up, they go back to being even better than where they were before. People will often say, wow, you feel completely different, or something different is going on with you. The patient will also report, I've stopped doing this habit, I've stopped doing that altogether, or I don't even have a desire for X, Y, or Z. So spirit release is not voodoo. It really isn't. It's a loving act of sending someone back on their way, continuing on their journey on the other side, releasing those things that aren't your divine essence, and so, getting back to your life. And that's really all that it is. It's nothing to be freaked out about. Everybody, for the most part, has something that attaches to them every now and again. So if have ever felt like, hey, I'm not feeling like myself, I'm in a mood, that's something, to be mindful of. Doesn't mean that the sky is going to fall. It's just like, oh, that's interesting to know. So whatever you do, don't get freaked out. Find somebody who does spirit releases. I'm sure you can find them all over the place. I get a lot of my people from the church, actually. The reverends and the pastors will tell them to come see me, or clients, will make referrals and what have you. So with that, I hope that you have some clarity around what a spirit release is. And feel free to visit my website at www.highachiever.net, or give me a call at my office at 312-382-8710. And remember, spirit releases are not voodoo. It's not black magic. It's a loving way to send off what no longer serves you or belongs to you back up into the light so it can continue its journey and be healed. All right? With that, I wish you love and light and pleasant journeys. Bye.